Welcome to the Renegade Yogi Podcast Experience. Join myself, Zorananda, and this episode's guest as we explore yoga in the modern world. Prepare yourself as we will experience yoga like never before. Hello and welcome to the Renegade Yogi Podcast Experience. My name is Zorananda. First, I just want to address some of the sound quality issues that you're going to hear in this next episode and the following episode. Is that I didn't realize when I was recording through Zoom that the guest's volume was pretty low and my volume was pretty high. Until after I recorded them. And as you can see, if you're watching this video, if you're not, you're listening to the audio, I'm in a new space, and over to my left, there's a pretty big open space. So it is a bit echoey on my end. And when I did move my stuff, I accidentally hit a couple knobs. And so that's why in this episode with Zarnoosh, you'll hear that, my volume is pretty high, and I didn't realize this until I listened to the recording afterwards, because I record through OBS and I am plugged into my laptop with my headphones rather than the Tascam, which I'm going to change for my next episodes, so that I can hear myself and I can hear my guest in my ears, and so I can kind of tell right away before I'm even recording what the levels are like. So you just have to please bear with me. I'm a noob to this and I'm doing this solo. So luckily, I do have the help from my music producer, John, who's just a master of all this stuff. So I'm going to have him on right away, and he's going to help me with some of the sound issues. And there's also this particular chord that I'm missing when it comes to my Tascam stack that's going to help with ensuring that everything is nice and level, everything's nice and perfect. I think the thing that I can't really get away with is the echo a little bit in the room, but I'm not too worried about that. And I really hope y'all can just get through it and enjoy the episodes, especially this one with Zarnoosh, because we talk about relationships and then we talk about life and music. And man, he is just such a well-spoken guy, and he's just so knowledgeable, and it's so amazing being able to talk to him. And he has a new song out and he has a new video, so that's going to be in the video as well. It's going to be in the episode, so you'll be able to hear some of his music. And yeah, I think that's it. Thank you for watching. Thank you for sending me messages about what you're learning, and I look forward to putting out more and more episodes. And I'm kind of behind because I did move into a new space, so I have a few episodes that I still need to record and upload, and so I apologize for some of the delay of getting it out. But I'm getting back into the groove of things, and I'm getting back into just having that responsibility of putting out 1 to 2 episodes a week, just like how I have been from the beginning of doing a solo podcast about some kind of yoga philosophy, and then an interview with someone. And what you can look forward to is a unique way of how I'm going about the podcast, where I'll actually have streams of episodes with individual people, meaning that say with Zarnoosh, right, that there's 2 episodes, maybe in a year from now, there's going to be 10 episodes with him. So instead of me trying to find a new person every week, that I'd rather kind of have a tight-knit community of people that I'm interviewing and bring on new people here and there, obviously, to keep it fresh, but to build this kind of community where if you really like the Zarnoosh episodes, that's something that you can look forward to, and you can see that there's an evolution of our conversation, there's an evolution of the topics and how we go deeper into life and music and yoga and Zoroastrianism and the state of the world, right? So thank you for watching and listening. I look forward to putting out more episodes. For now, all of this is going to be free. I'm not going to make a Patreon. I'm not going to put it behind any paywall. I do well in my life as it is with the job that I have and all the side things that I do. So I'm kind of moving forward in that direction where I just want to put it out there and provide it for people. And that goes the same with, generally my music. It's up on Spotify. You can look up Zoranunda. It's on even like Napster and iTunes and a whole bunch of other places. And the only difference is my book, right? Because that's something that I pay distribution for. So, it's available on my website. You can even just email me directly at yogi.zornunda@gmail.com if you want a copy of my book. But otherwise, I want to go in this direction of providing yoga and this information, my music, in a way that's either really, really affordable or just completely free. And yeah, so when it comes to my social media, I'm going to do my best right away to start putting out more content about my yoga practice and my workouts and my philosophies and stuff like that. So you can find me on yogi.zoranunda for Instagram, and that's primarily where I post. But without further ado, we have Zarnoosh up, and it was a really great talk, and I really hope you like it. Thank you again for watching and listening, and I'll see you soon. Yeah, it's been a couple months or a few months since our first chat together. I know the summer for me was pretty full on, but yeah, you were saying, you have some family moving in, and
Yeah, some crazy big change ups in my home base, as it were. Some energy shifts.
mm-hmm.
Enjoyable.
Enjoyable, yeah. Yeah, man. I'm in the same boat. Like it as you can see, I have a little bit of a different setup than my last because I'm no longer with my fiance. We decided to separate and kind of face the reality of all the differences and the complications that we're kind of going through. So I found myself nestled in a friend of mine's basement suite. So I got to kind of turn it into my little podcast space here. So it's a fresh wound, but something that I'm moving forward from, So
Well, I respect you sharing that with me. That's a brutal blow, man. Thanks for being open about it, and good energy to you and healing to you.
yeah, thanks, man.
No problem.
So what have you been up to? What's new in the life of Zarnoosh?
Yeah, I mean, me, I'm always just researching how to be a better version of myself. Um, Working on my music, working on my craft, working on my spells, and really there's not much new. It's just continuing down the path, for me. So um yeah, just practicing, getting closer to the quest for the gold, the alchemical gold in my soul. That's it. I feel like I've reached another level, and each time I do that, I feel like there's so much more to learn, and that I'm starting over from the beginning each time. So not much has changed on my infinite path, but I guess I've evolved a bit internally and externally, perhaps.
Wicked, yeah. And you were telling me about a music video that you just shot. you said you wanted to have that released kind of before we did this podcast. Was that something were you able to do, or are you still kind of working on it?
Yeah, the one I was talking about was this little video we shot for this freestyle I cut a few months ago called Whoa. Really just speaking about my place as like a spiritual nomad of sorts. And I did get a chance to post that, so I was hoping to send it to you, and I would love for you to share it with your viewers and listeners. Um, you know,
Yeah. Yeah, I'll do the same thing as we did in our first interview. And yeah, and that way, like halfway through the podcast here, I can just fit it in. The thing that I want to figure out with YouTube, because the last time I did it, the video is demonetized because um, I'm playing someone else's music, or it's from someone else's channel. So I want to figure out how I can put it in the video and credit it properly, because I remember seeing on someone else's page that they had someone's music playing in it, and then the way that they credit it in the description, it was like far more legit than whatever I did. So I just have to figure out how to do that, so then um, I don't get any weird strikes, because over the last couple months I've been just having these weird issues with YouTube, with getting my channel taken down for like two different, just like weird reasons that they wouldn't even tell me, but I had to kind of figure out on my own. But yeah, I'm happy to once again, showcase your art. And yeah, I listened to the freestyle a few times, and it's just so amazing to me how you're able to do that. Like, just in general, like rappers and people who can just like freestyle off the cuff, like, man, it's so impressive. And I just feel like it's a totally different part of the brain that's working. But for me, that just does not even operate. I can't even freestyle. My life depended on it.
yeah, it's a muscle, man. I think it has a lot to do with metacognition versus like crystallized intelligence. Like, I think for me, I'm a pretty metacognitive sort of guy. Like, I know what I know, I know what I don't know, I know kind of where I'm at with my thought patterns. And I think with the freestyling, it's a pretty magical thing because I get to turn that off. And it's always a challenge to, lose myself in the moment and just kind of flow with nature and trust all the music and all the words and everything I've learned and felt over the years to just kind of pour out. And the challenge for me, like I said, was just learning how to turn off the metacognition, man, and just being with the moment and not trying, and just really, it's cheesy, man, but I do think we all have a melody. I do think we all have like a voice, and I think it's tapping into that is the challenge. And but I do think it's attainable for everyone with the right practice and training.
Yeah, and that's the cool thing about your song, is that it kind of seems like it was written, right? Like, just the way that there's like the hook and the kind of verses and the chorus and stuff, that um, it seems like there was a lot of thought going into creating it. But what the reality, what it seems like to me, is that that's just like a part of talent and skill and preparation over time, right? So whatever you did over your career as a producer and a musician and an artist, that you can just get to the point where you can be in the studio, you can have the mic in front of you, you can have the beat going, and you just feel what it is that's coming out, and it's aligned with what the music is, and it's aligned with that moment, like what you were saying, right? Like getting out of that, like I think you said like metacognition, right? Or um, so like, have you always felt that it was natural for you to do that, or is this something that like you kind of built over time because you wanted to really prove to yourself that you can be this kind of artist and kind of go in the flow in that way?
Fuck. Well, first, thank you. First of all, I appreciate you seeing the effort it took to kind of get there one way or another, and I appreciate the kind words. Yeah, it's a combination, man. That's such a funny question because that so taps into exactly what I've been working on, and it's the vision versus the hard work and what comes first, like a chicken or the egg. I mean, for me, it's always kind of been blurred those lines, like to compartmentalize the skills I've acquired um, out of sheer willpower versus, you know, what has come naturally to me. I'll say communicating has always come naturally to me. I've always allowed myself to think things outside of the norm. I've always given myself a buffer zone to kind of just have weird thoughts, think weird things, not try to forget weird dreams. Like, and I think that just has always added up to this kind of natural gift to be able to communicate and mean what I say and feel what I mean. And that combined with just like desire, man, desire to be the best I can. It's like along the way you become the superhero. So I don't really know where that line is, but I do know it's taken a lot of willpower, and dedication to even get to this point. And I can't wait to explore it more and see where it takes me moving forward.
Yeah, and that's largely how I feel when it comes to music as well. When it comes to like playing guitar, like I'm just wrapping up my third album with my producer, and um, yeah, I was just thinking the other day of how arduous it is to be an artist, right? Like just the amount of effort that you have to put in at the beginning that's seemingly um, nothing comes out of it. But the truth is that there's so much that comes out of the experience and what you learn in the process of everything that it takes to actually produce some music, right? So, this last like 6 months of us working on this EP, and there's this one moment when myself and my friend Marin, who's the violinist on the album, and John, who's the producer, we decided instead of Marin and I meeting up and working on the song by ourselves and then going to John's and then recording it like we did for like I think 3 of the songs, that because of some time restraints on her end, being that she lives in Ottawa and she was visiting Edmonton, she only had like maybe less than a week. That we just went into the studio and made up right on the spot and recorded. And there's this point where like 3 hours have already gone by. We're on the last song, and both Myron and John are starting to get a little fatigued and a little frustrated. And so I was just like stuck in the middle of this position of um, actually having to like come up with the new music and come up with the melodies and come up with the ideas and how to put it all together right on the spot, and acting as this like buffer to neutralize the potential of suddenly all of us getting frustrated and giving up or getting mad. And it just made for such a beautiful experience that we wouldn't have had if we pre-planned everything beforehand, right? So that is something new that I learned just this year of working with music, because for me it's actually pretty easy for me to just pick up my guitar and I can just improvise and riff. But then to have the pressure in the studio of creating melodies for an instrument that I don't even play was just phenomenal. And it made the finalization of this album just that much more special. And so that's how I relate like the freestyling and, coming up with lyrics and melodies on the spot with like doing it with an instrument. It's something that's taken me years and years, and all the bullshit of how hard it is to learn an instrument, right? So
Yeah, that's it, man. That you absolutely nailed it. That's the internal struggle I love to put myself in. And when you reach that threshold, like with me, it's usually me. Like my process will be I'll construct the beat, and I'll give myself enough content musically that hopefully that'll inspire me and motivate me to generate the right words and melodies. And it's absolutely for me about getting to that threshold. I love that point where I'm ready to give up. I'm frustrated. I don't like what I'm saying. I don't like what I'm singing. I don't like the notes I'm choosing. I don't like the beat anymore. And then that final push, like, fuck you, you got this, you lazy piece of shit. And then all of a sudden, the magic comes. And it's like 10 out of 10 times, it's always past the point of no return. It's always past the point I thought I could push myself to. And that's where it generates the magic. And also, I would like to say, like, throwing in, like, I do like the it's very surface level, like those melodies. Like there's a pure like beauty to them that you can't absolutely generate when you're planning necessarily, or you can emulate it when you're planning and using the past and the future to kind of create this thing as opposed to just the moment. But they're two different skills, and I absolutely love writing as well, and I absolutely love thinking about structure and arrangement and spending weeks going over the finer details. But variety, man. Variety is the spice of life. If I can do it in the moment, I should be able to plan it. If I should plan it, I feel like I should be able to do it in the moment. And I just try to apply that to everything in my life.
Yeah, and the thing that I realized like early into my life as a musician is how much the the process of learning music teaches you about yourself. Where I've had times I'm learning a song and my brain and my body just cannot work together, right? Like in my mind, it all makes sense. And I'm telling my body from my mind to try to grasp something that there's this incompatibility between my brain and my body, right? And there's just times I just want to smash my guitar and just freak out. And in those moments, I just stop and I think, oh my God, is this just how I am generally? Is just how I deal with anything, that as soon as there's just a little bit of a hiccup, if there's this little moment where I'm not comprehending something, that instead of just wanting to understand and get through it, that I just want to freak out. And it was like, those were the really special moments of really giving me a good idea of how powerful music is individually on a spiritual level, where that side of it has nothing to do with almost performance. It has nothing to do with whether or not I'm selling all these albums and I'm getting all these people to hear it. It's such a personal endeavor of, in yoga, in the Ashtanga yoga, there's svadhyaya, self-study, right? So it's this act of self-study that I really feel helped me evolve past these tendencies of anger. And, I'd go to bed that night, wake up the next day, and suddenly I get it. And my hands and my body and my brain, it all works suddenly. It's like you just needed this moment of clarity to really understand what it is that you're overcoming, so that the subconscious part of your being can have it click into place. Otherwise, with all the resistance and with all the anger and with all the frustration, you're almost preventing yourself from clicking in place. So it's like you said, like, you're at the end of it and you're like, man, I just hate everything. I just hate how this sounds. Like, fuck it. Like, you're just about to give up. And then suddenly just like there's this moment of clarity and breaking through to finish the task, right?
I live for that shit, man. And it's a relationship, right? Like you love music, I love music. When you dedicate your fucking life to a craft, it's it's a relationship. It's like, I think it's right up there with your partner or with your fucking mother. So then, like, or your father, or like like it's a relationship, and one of your most precious relationships. And I think just like every relationship, there's attachment styles. So I think with in your pursuit with music, like anyone, I'm speaking for everyone and myself, I think it is a great way to kind of have your attachment style and your inner bullshit kind of reflected back at you in the struggle. And that's a beautiful analogy, man. That's a very metacognitive analogy you just made. um yeah, it teaches you so much about yourself, the struggle to push yourself beyond your own capabilities, and then comparing yourself to the infinite. Like, yeah, man, it's not easy, but Mother Nature, Mother Nature isn't all gentle winds and
Mm-hmm.
fucking sunshine, so 50% negative, 50% positive, bro. Every atom, like, that's how I feel. That's what I believe. I believe that's the truest balance.
Yeah, it's like those like tropical fig plants with the big leaves. Um, they need wind and rain, and actually, in order to grow. Like if you have one of these plants in your house and it starts to wilt and it starts to die, even though you're watering it, it's got plenty of sunlight. There's this missing part that it's like encoded in its own genetics, that it needs its leaves rustled, it needs that wind, and it needs that movement. And and so I like using those analogies and thinking about what it's going to take for me, like even just currently in my life. Like the other day I was just thinking, like, man, editing this podcast and coming up with content is way too much fucking work. And I was just like, it was kind of weighing on me, right? Because I have like a couple other podcast episodes that I need to release and edit, and then I have all these like clips, and it was like there was this like wind like rustling me, and I wasn't appreciating the fact that it's providing strength. It's providing an element that is going to help me, grow stronger roots, and it's going to help me establish where I am in my foundation. And instead of just like trying to get out of that wind or get out of that perturbance, that I was able to like shift my perspective and say, you know what? It all comes down to timing. That when I come out with a podcast episode, or when I film a podcast episode, I need to spend that day doing the editing so that I'm not just pushing things off to the side, right? So if I have this win that comes, which is, the guest who is doing the episode with me, I've got to continue using that energy so that I can edit the episode and I can get the clips done all in one day, and then I'm ready. Because what I was doing is I was just kind of pushing it off to later dates, and all of a sudden it just all piles up. And just like that music analogy of like, getting so frustrated, I'm seeing how this endeavor that I'm taking upon myself is teaching me some accountability, and it's teaching me how to schedule things. And everything that's going on in my life has been a blessing, and now it's just up to me to ride that wave. And yeah, it's feeling good with a lot of confusion as well.
Chaos and order, man.
Yeah.
I think that's what it's supposed to be. I think you're supposed to like, if you weren't like pushed to the point to have to add this order now to this new platform and this new endeavor, like, would you have just stagnated? Right? Probably. So you need this wind. You need, like, it's that warrior DNA.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the thing, like, watching and being mindful of that stagnance, I think that can be fairly tricky, right? Because in stagnance, there's the first bit of comfort, right? It's like comfort leads into stagnance. But there's this balance of knowing how to be responsible with that comfort, and where the comfort is in doing the tasks and not the procrastination. And so I find that I have this like tipping point into procrastination where the comfort of knowing that I do have the podcast and I do have the platform, that I can push it aside because I think that there's something more important. And that is a trap in and of itself. And so then having and knowing the balance of what my life is will, enable me to, avoid that stagnance. And I think it also comes down to acceptance, right? So like, we planned to do this episode on last Saturday, and things happen, things come up, and to still hold forward on my responsibility and my word on these things, because given my situation and going through a breakup and feeling so much, at any point I could have dipped into that stagnance and been like, no man, I'm not doing anything, I just need to like wallow in my self-defeat here. But there was just something else that came up that was like, no man, you just keep going forward, it's okay, you have the support and there's loving people around you, everything's gonna be okay, she's gonna be okay, just move forward. And yeah, it feels good.
Fuck yeah, good job, man. That's an impressive fucking, that is quite a daunting Goliath, and I have let smaller things deter me from important things. So I know that battle. I think everybody knows that battle, and to be aware of that battle, like, yeah, man, that's big. Congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah, I do my best to keep in mind the yoga principles that I kind of live my life on. And what I always come down to is ahimsa, non-harm, and satya, truthfulness. And those two together are really powerful, and they're really intimidating, because for whatever reason in the human condition and our life lessons, causing harm and lying work hand in hand just as equally. And we don't even notice the harm that we cause by not telling the truth and not being honest with ourselves and with others. And when it came down to these like last couple weeks, I just had to be really honest with myself in where I'm at in my life, and how easy it is to get trapped in this fantastic thinking of how successful I want to be, especially especially being an artist, right? And I'm sure you feel the same way or have this kind of same sentiment when you're creating music and you're creating things to share with people. You can't help but want to feel like we want to share it with as many people as possible. And the thing that was really important for me is to first be really honest with myself. And in that honesty, not to cause any harm internally or mentally towards myself, because things aren't going the way that I originally thought it was going to go. And that, I think, really opened up a new way of thinking, of understanding some strategies and tactics in how to get what we're creating out to people, right? So the question I have for you here is, how do you manage or deal with, when it comes to creating music, like getting it out to people, or feeling like there's some satisfaction in the endeavor that you've gone through and creating it and sharing it.
Yeah, man, that's the fucking question, and it seems to be we are in some very similar frequencies, because I am definitely thinking about these things daily, and um, how do I deal with it? What do I do? I mean, I think I'm still building that. It feels like a fucking straw house. I've been so focused on the craft. The audience finding has not been a priority. It's still barely feels like a priority as much as it's starting to feel like a fucking necessity,
Mm-hmm.
you know? So I don't even have a fucking good answer for that. Do you have the answer? I don't know, man. I'm working on it. I guess I truthfully believe that the work comes first, man. If it's good, people will come, and if
Mm-hmm.
people aren't coming, it's just not fucking there. I just got to keep training and keep on the path, like don't look at the obstacles, look at the fucking path.
Yeah. Oh, that just reminded me of something that I was thinking about the other day. Yeah. So essentially, the exactly what you said, right? Like you're focusing on the task and you're focusing on what it is that's being created. And I had a way of thinking about it that I'm kind of forgetting, but I think it has to do with this like weird obsession in social media of of needing attention and needing as many people liking things and viewing things, that I was kind of getting caught in that trap, right? And then what ends up happening is that I just end up neglecting sharing anything at all, right? And so I just stopped to think about just simply the movement forward of creation, just the movement forward that the ideas of how to get it out there are going to come up naturally from that moving forward, right? So like, for example, in my last album with John, um, you know, didn't really do anything about sharing it in a way where we're going to get album sales, and it's instrumental music, so it's not really fit for the radio. And I was sharing it on social media, I was doing some paid promotions, but I just saw it as this stepping stone forward. As soon as we finished the second one, as soon as we're wrapping up this third one, I started getting ideas. Well, I can just focus on this simply, like I don't have to think that this whole thing has to blow up so crazily. I was like, why don't I take the best song that I have on the album, which is called Opening, and bring it to a couple local radio shows. So we have like CJSR, which is the University of Alberta radio program, and then we have CKUA, which is like a local one, and just go from there, and just be in communication with people who are in these radio shows. And that brought excitement out of me, even just thinking about that, and then talking to John about it and be like, hey, how's this going to work? And then even him being like, yeah, that's a great idea. And knowing that that's the reality of where we're starting from, right? Where, we don't have this huge budget where we can hire a social media management team to, spend thousands of dollars every month. We don't have the greatest connections in the music industry. So that thought right there was just the humbling part of it, and the reality of like, oh, just like yoga in my life, just like how I dedicated myself to yoga and it's a lifelong endeavor, music is a lifelong endeavor. And so maybe it's my 5th album that catches on, maybe it's my 6th, maybe it's my 10th, and that doesn't matter, because all I really want to focus on is just that act of creating music, because that is what was phenomenal, right? Just having these weird ideas and melodies in your head, and all of a sudden, boom, it's a full production.
Creation, man.
Mm-hmm.
Beautiful. Yeah, and that's powerful, and that's where I'm at with you, man. I think it's just hone in on the craft, perfect it. You know, the Japanese samurai warrior, the swordsmith, the whatever the fuck, the stone mason. Every
Mm-hmm.
single craft, just do it, and it's about finding your light. I believe it's about finding your light through the craft and sharing it with fucking brothers and sisters in the multiverse, man. Like, there's so much you can do for so many creatures above and below you that every fucking, like, that's what it's about, man. And we're lucky to be in pursuit, and I believe the audience will come. I believe it'll happen, you know. So intention is everything. I continue to manifest everything I want in my life. You know, I am where I want to be. Like, it's not a joke.
Mm-hmm.
It's fucked. It's actually scary that you just surrender and you see it and you fucking become it. It's that easy. I'm not worried.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's encouraging to me, you know, like because it's so easy to look at other people and how it is that they've gotten to the limelight and where they are, and to feel like you're moving through mud, right? And that, like, this whole task of you know, wanting to be kind of like financially independent on these projects and these creations, that it's not only moving through mud, it's an uphill trajectory of a path. And it's totally necessary, right? When you listen to anyone have a lengthy conversation who are in a position of, you know, having attention from you know, all sorts of platforms and whatever they're doing, concerts, you name it, they all started where we started, right? And you know, obviously there are the kind of few who didn't, you know, and they had rich parents, and, you know, they were able to get into the best studios, and immediately, like, their whole life has been catered to developing the skills that they have. But there's something so much more special to hear someone's story of literally starting right from the bottom in poverty and growing into self mastery that they're in. And you know, I wonder for myself, like, if I didn't have yoga in my life, or I wasn't meditating, would I have the capability and the talent and the skill that I have in the music that I play and I create? And it's a tricky question, because there are plenty of people who don't do yoga or don't meditate or anything, and they're phenomenally talented. But I just think that when it comes to spirituality, when it comes to thinking of yourself in a way that is much more profound in what existence is, I just feel that there's a duty in sharing that presence in the creative process, and that it's almost going to happen naturally, right? So, and I kind of see that with you as well, and especially with this new song, that that ability to freestyle and to just really get into the music and let your creativity flow. I just feel like there's got to be this kind of deeper connection with yourself, that if you're just a common lay person, right, that's not really going to be available in a way like that.
Institutionalized. I mean, it's that was a tough assessment, and I'd be remiss if I didn't fucking agree with you, man. Yeah, it's brutal. It's absolutely brutal because their minds are just not filled with awareness. Their minds are filled with fucking every single rich advertising agency's R&D money.
Mm-hmm.
Like like their brains, they're not thinking their own thoughts. They're not even imagining their own images. Like I think it's tough in today's day and age to be able to sit there and imagine a unique world in your head,
Mm-hmm.
but it's been done. But it seems to be something that as time progresses, it's like less possible for the average person to engage in this ability. Like, why is it that the most lasting stories of this, I don't know what to call it, human life loop, you know, historical loop, um, were made so long ago? Like, I think about fucking the Greeks, like, those guys were pretty novel thinkers, even the Zoroastrian myths. Fuck, dude, like, Hercules, everybody knows Hercules. Like, everybody knows that story. How many stories are permutations of Hercules? But why is it today it's so fucking rare for Hercules to come out? Like it just people don't there's too much information processing in today's modern society. There's too much simulacrum that you're not in control of. Symbols and icons you're looking at that were created by a fucking $1 million R&D team, political slogans, viewpoints that aren't actually unique. Um, it's fucked and it's sad, and you're absolutely right. And I think it does take a certain level of self-awareness and travel inwards to be able to attain this. And honestly, man, most of the powerful artists I meet, and I mean in essence, not in material acquisition or monetary success. And these people could be successful. I've met successful people who have this, and I've also met not successful people with what they want to be successful with, who also have this attribute. And it is this able, like this, you're very open with your vulnerabilities, man. You're very open with your shortcomings, and you're not embarrassed to come off a certain way because you know that reality, the truth, righteousness is beyond these shortcomings. And essentially it's like you either have, like today's day and age, like you either have mental health problems or you're a fucking liar. Like I don't know how else to put it. And then all these liars, like that's where they're caught in living a falsified reality. And it's very evidence based, and it's very fact oriented and science based, and like everything comes from the mind, and the mind is the only thing you can't really quantify. Consciousness is the only thing you can't quantify. It's the source of every endeavor, every fact we know, every shared form of communication. And for people not to see that and to be so stuck in intellectualization over experience and inwards travel, it's a shame, man. But you know what? It was that expression from my soul that like drew me to you, drew me to your platform. So it's working. Like what you're doing is working. What I'm doing, it is working.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where the magic is. This is the magic right now.
Yeah, and I think within that magic, there's this like spiritual war, right? There's this like endeavor within, and I don't think it's within everyone. I think it's called upon within certain people, in the collective of humanity, of going through these stages and these levels of self-realization and understanding the initiative process of combating forces that want to keep us in a subdued state and want to keep us in a realm where we like go through self-defeat every day, right? Where like we can't help but want to give up on what our goals are and what our dreams are, just to continue some job or some career that only feeds into their end of the machine. And so I was realizing this, especially over the last year and a half, that there are two sides of this kind of spiritual war and this magic. That you have this obvious nefarious side that is really around all of the constructs of our reality, right? So everything that you see in the media, government, science, education, you name it. And then there's this benevolent side where it's part of the same coin. It's two faces of the same coin. So the benevolent side is still within those constructs, but there's this togetherness and there's this harmony and joy and love and compassion that shows us the excitement of moving through the fears and moving through the insecurities and moving through all of the assaults on our mind and our bodies and spirit, where as soon as we get through the initiations and as soon as we get through enough of the levels, we reach a point where the flow of abundance, and especially harmonious abundance, is innate and it's natural. It's not something we have to think about anymore. It's not something that I have to be like, oh, I'm working on my abundance today, or I'm working on these angels and these realms and I'm calling in these beings with these like angelic, no, you don't have to do that anymore. You're just in it. You're in that realm. And then it's just how to just be and operate in that realm and being used to having that abundance flow. And that's something that shifted with me just recently, of just the position that I am at work. And I work with my brother in this company, and as soon as I surrendered into it and I stopped fighting it, all this abundance started flowing, and it was just so much more ease around and doing it. And that's where I started to see this balance. It's like, yeah, okay, it's this company that works in the machine of capitalistic society, but there's two sides to it, right? And I'm at a point in my life where I can just surrender into my karma and I can surrender into my dharma of my role in this for now, and I can receive the abundance that's coming in. And that's going to really help me anchor into the passions that I have on the side, right? So getting like new cameras for my podcast, right, at some point, and transforming the new space that I'm in, and being able to promote some videos and stuff if I want to. So the way of kind of stepping out of this kind of like NPC non-player kind of character state into a sovereign autonomous being is seeing how you fit naturally in your life and going with it, and then adding the passions to it and watching all of it grow together. And at least that's been my karma and dharma, because I also recognize that there are plenty of people who they need to quit their job and they need to end where they are to fully go into what they're wanting to do, because that's just their path. And so it's been a weird thing of hearing people say that and then seeing my life and being like, actually, it's the complete opposite. I need to be more fully in all that I'm doing, and that is going to benefit me so much more in the long run of having the career and growing in these next like 7 years. So I'm 33. So I have, I feel like when I turned 30, I entered into this new decade and I became like an adolescent again almost. I became like a 10-year-old. And I'm now moving through this next decade with new lessons and new levels. And it's definitely providing a lot. Yeah.
And the balance, like, except surrendering. I think I understand what you're trying to say, that um, kind of going out and grinding again, like surrendering to that. There is it's not just surrendering to the man and to the corporation. Like, there's a higher contribution to that, for yourself and for the people around you. And if that is the path you have to take now to get back on the path you want to take, man, that's pretty cool. And like embracing it, and it feels good, man. Like I 3 years ago, so I'm 33 as well, and 3 years ago, actually it might be closer to 3.5 now, I was working at a radio station, and it was pretty fucking close to what I wanted to be doing with my life. Like, I was in a studio, I was doing music, I got to read the news, I got to produce some stuff, engineer, vocal engineer, some stuff. It was a pretty great gig, man. I actually have no qualms with it, but really it was still soul destroying, because it was still just enough, like a few degrees off from what I truly wanted to be spending my time, what I truly wanted to be stressing about, was for me to still be like, fuck this, I'm out. And then I kind of cut, and I became a full-time audio engineer, producer, which is what I do on the side. And that's my main way of making money, is running sessions. And I have a great team of awesome local artists I'm working with, like Frederic, who you know,
Yeah.
who's a really talented singer and photographer. And we've got some great new music we're wrapping up with soon. And yeah, and then that inside of itself, I had to go through a macrocosm of that, because I did find myself wearing this engineer role a lot. Like, it was lucrative and consistent, but again, my soul started to die, because I'm engineering other people's art when I want to be creating my own. So, like, even within, and I am so grateful to be able to be on this journey, but even within the sphere of like I said, like, I am living a dream. Like, I'm just getting to fucking do music and live. And I'm so grateful to have a partner who's in the arts as well. And, it's just everything is kind of worked out for me. And there's challenges, but I'm fucking okay with the challenges. Like, I see them, I'm aware of them. I know what I have to do to get over them, and I'm not afraid of them. But in spite of the challenges in my life, like, yeah, man, it can happen even in your passion. It can happen where you don't feel like you're doing quite what you want to do. And then it's like, who are you to be that picky? Like, how many brothers and sisters do we have around the world who don't have the luxury to be picky with these decisions? And then I get like hard on myself, but then it's like, you do only have one fucking life, as far as we fucking know it, in this material synchronicity, whatever the fuck you want to call it. And it's, sorry, I'm swearing a lot. I feel very passionate about this.
No, that's all good, man. Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, why not be picky, right? Like, why not be picky, and why not know when to surrender in order to give yourself the room to be picky again? And yeah, it's a dance, man, between chaos and order, surrender and, and control.
Yeah, I really appreciate that point that you brought up of like, people all over the world, living dangerously close to like extreme poverty and not having any opportunity to do anything that we're doing, right? And, putting that into perspective, that, where we're at is such a blessing, and to really understand that the role that we have to play in that is very necessary in the moment and in the time being. And so when I look at even just the last like 10 to 15 years of my life, and how it's led up to this, and where I'm at and why I'm doing what I'm doing, it's so much easier for me to accept it and to see it as a blessing, because of the training that I've done over the last like 10 years of doing yoga and meditation, and really going into my heart and really expanding into compassion and empathy, that it's time for me to surrender into my life path. And, you know, even like 2 years ago, that was hard for me to do. I thought about quitting everything that I was doing every other day. And so now for me to be in this position where I'm faced with the turmoil of ending of a relationship, but then the acceptance of the path that I'm on, and then the abundance that that's bringing in, there's this like whole new wave that's just really rising up and pushing me forward. And I just have to turn around and ride the wave rather than facing it. And that's kind of what I felt like over the last couple days of like all of a sudden this surge of like, oh man, like the world is just all kind of fucked up right now. There's like all this stuff happening in the government. There's all this stuff happening with the medical industry. I don't even want to say any of the words just because I know Big Brother and Little Brother just fucking listening to all this shit, right? So, but just to see that why I was feeling all that is because I was facing the wave and I'm looking at this thing about to crash on me and I'm like, oh wait, no, I can turn around and I can ride this wave. Like it just doesn't have to be this thing that's so ominous and life-threatening that it's opportunity. And the opportunity is that I just need to know the right tools to ride this wave, right? And so the right tools simply are the career that I'm in, the podcast that I have, the music that I'm making, the yoga and the meditation and the book that I have, and the community around it and the people that are supporting me. And, you know, I went to a festival last weekend and just had this amazing time in nature and around this like really beautiful community here in Edmonton where I'm from, and showing some friends a couple songs from my album and seeing them just light up and being like, holy shit, dude, this is actually really great. And to hear that was just so touching. It's like that's all I needed, you know? And going forward now is just going to be a breeze, right? Because once you have people that are close to you validate all the work that you've put into something, it just allows the next steps forward to be that much easier.
Fuck, man, I don't know what it is. We're in some crazy synchronous situation. I told you, we started this conversation kind of mentioning that I had some family visiting, and I had a very similar experience with my family who's been kind of watching me on my journey for a long time and hearing some of the stuff I'm working on right now. And they know how long, you know, and it is incredibly validating, and it is important for us, man. And, you know, like there is this deep irony in like an artist without an audience, you know, and it's like, where do you draw the line? It's like, no wonder there's frustration, and the determination and the fucking willpower it takes. I'm bringing it back to willpower. It's a willpower game to like continue forward, and the determination, and we're in our 30s now, and it's like, but you can't fucking look at any of that. You just can't. And to get that food from people who've seen you on that journey is a very powerful thing, and I'm so grateful when it comes, you know. And you can starve from not having it as an artist, and I think that kills a lot of artists. They're just surrounded by a lot of people who don't believe in them or don't want to validate them or whatever, man. And I feel bad for our brothers and sisters we lose that way. So I think we should be incredibly grateful to be able to have anyone around us to look at what we're doing and say, you fucking rock, man. And you fucking rock, Zarnanda.
Man, you fucking rock. Zarnoosh, man. Oh, man, this is great. I'm just going to take a moment right now just to plug the video that you just finished, and so that the people who are watching this, they can take a look at the video. And so for all of you watching, here's the video for all of you listening. The song will still play, but go check out the video. The link will be in the description. So let's get to that right now.
I wish I found my way back home again. I lost sight of my mind, my heart, myself, my soul. I lost sight of it all. No distance, too short to crawl across my world, my life, my light again. I see myself, reflections fraught with my sordid past self. A hazy life in my mind once lived, no passed me by right inside myself. In direction with no respect, misunderstood by the world once again. No, the wind wouldn't blow for itself anymore. No, the trees didn't grow. The sun wouldn't shine for you, nor I, nor them anymore. No, the stars would listen up to you. Just when you lose all sight of what is true. Though I've lost it all sense, trying to keep my feet above the ground. And I think twice, I know my satisfaction depends on this place I see in my heart, in my mind it does exist. A hazy life in my mind once lived, no passed me by right inside myself. In direction with no respect, misunderstood by the world once again.
Yeah, I think maybe we can probably come to a conclusion here, just so we get at the 1 hour mark. And yeah, man, like, it's so interesting to kind of be in this position of, finding new people to connect with. And yeah, it's so amazing to find like-minded people, and just like, it's just like this like soul tribe of just like immediate connection and just like immediate knowing that there's just this deep resonance and synchronicity, right? Where my life is obviously, completely independent of yours and completely different. But then there's just like this thing that allows for a resonance to occur, where I can just talk about my life and I can talk about things that are going on, and you on the other end can be like, holy shit, that's like exactly what I'm going through. But your world and what you see is seemingly vastly different than mine. And that just really encourages me to know that there's something more coming out of this. And maybe I don't know, and maybe you don't know, listeners don't know, but there's and I think I might have said this to you in our first interview, when I did my 300-hour teacher training in Rishikesh, India, at the Anand Prakash Ashram. In the stairwell leading up to the second floor to where the studio is, there's this picture. I'm just trying to remember, but there were 4 different sayings, and in the middle, there's one that says, "Trust brings harmony." And that has just stuck with me ever since. I did the training in 2016, so the last like 5 years. I think about that so often and how true it is that even with music, when you're bringing melodies together, the way that those harmonies actually work is because you have to trust that that you're creating the melodies that are going to work together. And so if you don't know what you're doing and you can't trust yourself in going through the necessary movements and the necessary actions to actually produce the music, there won't be any harmony. And so that to me became like a very powerful mantra just within my mind to say with myself, trust brings harmony, and trust brings harmony. And what does that mean? Is that it comes down to really knowing who I am and moving forward with that knowing, because then other people are going to be attracted to it. And just like yourself, right? How you saw my ad or my promoted kind of content on Instagram, how that led to you commenting on it. And then, all of a sudden, we have this like cool friendship that's developing, and, this collaboration on this podcast, and how it all came down to trust, right? So, yeah. I don't know. What do you think about that?
I think that was really well said, man. And I think trust is a beautiful thing. And I know exactly what you mean. And it's just like, it's people who've done the work, man. I think it has to do with this. And it doesn't matter like what the tools I think each individual is using to kind of achieve this understanding, but there is like just a level of perception and processing of your five senses, like of however many senses you actually have. Apparently you have more than five, like your sense of temperature and your sense of balance, right? But there's this really fascinating thing when you find people who have just done the work and process all of this stuff, that there is like one kind of open-hearted way to see the world in spite of your differences. And I think the people who are there, like, yeah, we are able to be vulnerable and open and trusting, and it's really easy and it's effortless, and there's more and more people like that coming out of the woodwork, man. And yeah, I am super grateful that I reached out to you, and it spurred this relationship and this collaboration on this podcast. These conversations are always something I'm really starting to look forward to, and I appreciate you, man. I appreciate your energy and everything you've done for me and everything you're trying to do right now.
You're so welcome, man. And if you ever want to collaborate on music, just let me know, man, because I have full access to a full-on studio, right? So if there's any like guitar parts you want, or even like violin, yeah, man.
Well, let me think about that. Let me hit the lab, and I'm seriously going to think about that. I absolutely love your playing and your style of composition, so it would be an honor. I already know, and it's going to sound great.
Yeah, totally, man. Yeah, so I think with that we can kind of come to the end of our talk here. Maybe tell people where to find you, with your social media, and where yeah.
Yeah, man, things are pretty simple for me right now. You can find me on Instagram at zarnoosh.fire. I have a freestyle coming out. You guys saw the video, and so that's going to be released officially in the coming weeks. And I'm also working on another video. This is going to be a proper full production music video, and it's a full single, not just a freestyle that I cut together in a magical moment. It's like a thought out, produced song, and we're going to be shooting that in October. So hopefully the next time I get to talk to you, I'll have something new to present. And that's where.
Amazing. Awesome, man. Well, thank you everyone for tuning in, watching, listening. Have a wonderful rest of your day and enjoy.